If you own a steel chainsaw, do not skip this video. Hey y'all, thanks for tuning back into Chickanic. I hope everybody's having a great week. Does this saw look familiar to you? It should. I made a video on it 4 months ago. It was a very weird repair. It was one that was mixed in with a few other repairs, one of my diagnosing, fixing, and fails video. You might have seen it. At the time, the saw was running sporadic. It mostly would just start and die. Sometimes it would start, run, but not want to run under a load. And then magically, it just started running perfect. Now, to be honest, in that video, I wasn't sure what I did to make it run right. I had done a lot of adjusting on the carburetor, went over everything on it, till at one point I cleaned the tank vent, which normally is never an issue, and miraculously it just started running perfect, which you can tell in the video I thought was odd. So that wasn't it either. Obviously, it's still not wanting to idle. So we're going to go back a few steps. We're going to definitely check over that fuel filter again, check the fuel line inside of the tank, make sure that there's no pinhole, anything like that, which would be odd, but it could definitely be a problem if there is one. We're going to check the gas with a smell test. I mean, I looked at it, it looked fine, and he buys gas pretty much every single day. So I know it's not old gas, but you could get a bad batch of gas from a gas station. You never know. I'm going to check the tank vent, make sure that it's not clogged. I'm also going to check the decompression trigger here on top, the compression release trigger, make sure that it's maybe not leaking, and we might have to do a vacuum test to make sure that the seals are okay, because something's weird. Well, she idled, but she doesn't have the bar and chain on. Does that make a difference? Let's put it back on and find out. So guys, did you know that 90% of the repairs that you watch me do, I have absolutely no idea what's wrong with it before I dig into it. So pretty much you're following along this entire diagnosing process with me. Well, that don't happen every day. I don't know if that was the issue or not. It is running perfectly fine now. The only other thing I need to do is test it. I need to go get it in some wood, make sure it doesn't die while it's under a load. Guess it was the tank vent.
I guess it was a tank vent.
Huh, that's not every day. But hey, it was running. I wasn't going to dig into it any further. Now this needs a little backstory. Now my customer bought 2 identical MS362s 8 months ago. Now immediately after he bought them, he noticed that they had sporadic running issues. Sometimes they would just take off by themselves. He took them back to the steel dealer where he purchased them from. They said there was nothing wrong with them. It was a sporadic issue, you know, it didn't happen while it was at the shop. They gave them back to him. Now he was irritated, so he brings them to me because he always brings all his stuff to me that isn't under warranty. And that's when you saw it in that video. But since then, he said it still had an issue. It was sporadic. Sometimes it would run fine, and sometimes it didn't want to run at all. But he also had the other identical MS362 that was doing the same thing. So he brought both saws into me, and I dug in hard this time. And what I found irritates me a little bit. Now, he already picked up his other steel MS362 so he could use it, but he left this one with me because it's going to have to go and get warranty repair. But I need to make a video on it first to warn y'all, because these saws have an issue, along with some other models of steels, and you need to know about it. Now, there are things you assume when you are working on a almost brand new saw, and that is there is not a manufacturer defect. But sometimes you're wrong, like I was with this saw. Now, I knew it wasn't getting the correct air-fuel mixture, but the saw was practically brand new. It could only be a few things. And before you say, oh, well, all you had to do was run a leak down test on it, guys, I bought the specialty steel tool that you have to do a leak down test on this chainsaw. And I guess I hit it just right because it held. But here it is, back again. Both of his saws came in. And when I figured out what the issue was, I went to Facebook. Because, you know, I am not a steel dealer. I work on all types of equipment because one machine to me is just like the other. But I don't get service bulletins. I don't get safety recalls. I am not privy to all that insider info. I just have to figure it out myself. And what I found is that both of these chainsaws, the air intake was not sealing correctly. And when I went back to my last video, I didn't assume that it wasn't all tightened down from the factory, but it sure wasn't. So, when I went to Facebook to see if there's any steel dealers or mechanics out there that could help me and let me know, is this an issue that you've seen with these chainsaws? Because I have two in here at the shop with the exact same issue. It seems sort of odd, or could it be just completely random? These saws had never been worked on other than me. I mean, the last shop that he took it to, whenever he wanted to get the warranty repair, they didn't really do anything at all. And immediately, my great viewers, thank you so much, chimed right in and said, yes, there's a service bulletin from February. Now, here's my issue with that. There are service bulletins and there are safety recalls. Now, a huge corporation like this is not going to get a hold of their customers and let them know that something is wrong with the unit unless there is a safety recall, because they are liable for that. But when it comes to a service bulletin, you're not going to know that there's an issue with your chainsaw until it starts messing up. Now, the issue with this is if you have an area of your chainsaw, it's not the air filter, behind the air filter, your intake is sucking in air the entire time you're using it. What else is it sucking in? Now, you can go and have them do the warranty for it, which is replacing the entire manifold, but what has it already done to your unit? What if it burns it up? Are they going to give you a new chainsaw or replace your piston and cylinder? This is the problem with service bulletins. Because in steel service bulletin, it says if a customer comes in and they are having running issues, where it's like running sporadic, taking off on itself, not starting, dying, then you should run a leak down test, see if that's the issue, and then replace the manifold. But that's not addressing the people that maybe use their saw once a year. What if you've only used your saw, a few times in the span of a few years? You take it in later. Are we still going to get that service of the service bulletin, the brand new manifold, when it's out of warranty? Or is it going to be like my customer where he takes it back to his steel dealer and they didn't even read the service bulletin, so they have no idea that they need to do it? So let me bring you in and show you what's wrong. All right, first off, let me get this choke out of the way, because it's right in here, and see if I can get y'all at this perfect angle to see what's going on here. Now, this back base right here is supposed to be flush with the carburetor, but there is a huge gapping hole right here. Let's see if I can get you in. Do you see that? See how far away it is from the carburetor? Right inside that, and this one's tightened down a whole bunch. It's bending this plastic prong right here inward. So this whole gap goes along the top and the side. If I could get you at the correct angle, you can actually see the choke flapper in there. So debris can be constantly going through here into your cylinder. Now, I would assume that this is an air filter base issue, that it's not formed correctly for the way it mounts to the carburetor. But when you look up the service bulletin, the part to replace is the manifold, the rubber boot manifold back here. So I'm at sort of a loss. I mean, if you push all this together, this looks like it could be sucking air there. I don't know. There's also a gasket right here that I noticed on the last one that even though this chainsaw was not very old, I had to rejuvenate it in some mechanic in the bottle because the O-ring was not good anymore. So I don't know how the manifold part makes the front part fit, but I guess, I don't know, you'll have to find out from your local steel service dealer. So what does this tell you guys? What's my tip of the day? Something that's going to save you some time, money, and frustration. As an ex-dealer of one of these brands, I don't care if you have a Husqvarna, Stihl, Echo, any brand. If you've bought something that's still under warranty, or it doesn't matter. If you feel like you have an issue, even if you don't have an issue, as a matter of fact, you should just, 6 months after you buy something, maybe a year after you buy something, call the dealer. Find out if there's any of these secret service bulletins that you need to know about that cover your serial number. We should fix it preemptively before it causes an issue. Now, for some of the other models that this has affected that you might have, there is the Stihl MS 400C and M and the 400.1 chainsaw. The MS 362CM, the CM-R, and the CM-VW. The MS 231 and the MS 251C-BE. That's a big seller. And then it also might be on a chop saw or cut-off saw, whatever you want to call it. The TS420, the 410, the 440, the TS710.0i, and the TS910.0i. Those are the big bad boys. If you have any of those units, I highly suggest getting the problem taken care of before it sucks in a bunch of concrete dust or chainsaw dust and ruins your machine. But like I said, I don't care what unit you have. Just out of the blue, call your dealer and see if there's any service bulletins on them. So, sorry guys if I sound a little perturbed. I don't like machines coming back, especially when it was something that, I wouldn't have known. I'm not a Stihl dealer. I wish I did know all of their top secret info, so I can provide for my customers better. But, you got to pay tens of thousands of dollars to do that, to be a Stihl dealer. So I'll just keep chucking along and learning as I go and letting y'all know about it. And hopefully it'll save you some time, money, and frustration in the future. Before I head out, though, I do want to remind you, next week I am going to the Equip Expo in Louisville, Kentucky from October 21st through the 24th. And I would love to see you there. If you have not got tickets yet, they are $60 right now. But if you use the promo code Chickanic, you will get half off and get all 4 days for $30. Now, I will be walking around all 3 days, so if you see me, please stop me and say hello. I would love that. Wednesday, I think I'm going to be at the Relco, previously known as Kohler booth, at 10:30 in the morning to meet the president of Relco. That's pretty cool. On Thursday at 10:30 in the morning, I'm going to be doing a meet and greet at the Ethanol Shield booth, so please stop by and see me there. I'll be giving away some Chickanic merch. And then also 4 o'clock Thursday afternoon, there's a women's leadership conference, and I will be speaking at that. So I would love to see you there. It is a free event if you want to come by and say hello. So guys, thanks again for tuning in to Chickanic. Hopefully this will save your saw, save you some time, money, and frustration. If you find yourself coming back over and over again, think about hitting that subscribe button. And if you ain't tired of me yet, check this video out right here.